Number one is moving your hips. And every time I say this, it sounds like I'm talking about like adult content, but I am not. Just your basic moving your hips, I think can really help. And I think something a lot of people don't do is like lateral movement, like going side to side. We're so used to like the front and back that we don't move side to side as much. And so I think that can be really important and helpful for people. Again, if you guys have questions, ask me in the comments. I'm just pulling up Instagram to see the comments because I usually cannot see them. Oh, God, unmute me. Okay, next one. Anybody have questions about moving your hips? Not too hard. All right, the next one is that your due date is just a guess. So many people just get caught up on that due date. Anybody thinking that that is the day they're going to have their baby? I think it's normal because, like, we book a flight, we think that's the day we're going to leave, right? But pregnancy is just not that way. So I think, like, for an example, my daughter was due mid-April, and I think some people might have been like, oh, early April, whereas I was like by the end of April, and she ended up coming very late in April because I was overdue. And so I think that can really help your mental like status because you just don't think it's gonna come right away. Again, if you guys have questions, pregnancy questions or pregnant questions about the things I'm talking about, please ask me in the comments. What about you guys? Tell me in the comments, are you thinking that your due date is like the law, or what are you thinking? Thanks for the hearts, guys. Okay, next thing, gratitude. It can be really hard. I mean, you're grateful to be pregnant, you're grateful that baby's doing well, most likely, but also pregnancy just sucks. But trying to focus on the positive really can be so helpful. Bookish Amber said, I've been telling people late September rather than September 30th. Yeah. And you might, well, and if your due date's September 30th, you might want to even be thinking by mid-October. By Halloween, we'll have our baby. It's just like a mental game that you play because I see so many people on here talking, they're like 37 weeks and they're like, oh, I'm going to have the baby any day. I mean, yes, any day in like the big picture, I guess, but really having some photo issues here. Let's see, how's that? Is that better? Oy vey, guys. Let's see. We have a question on TikTok. I had a miscarriage a week ago, pregnant 30 years, 6 weeks, trying to figure out what I can do differently to have success. A lot of times a miscarriage just happens, and I'm so sorry that it happened. Talk with your provider, see if they have any tips for you, but sometimes it's just kind of that's the way it is. I'm sorry. I wish I had more tips for you, though, for sure. Okay, the next one is hydration. On my last baby, or middle baby, I ended up having to go get some liters of IV fluid. And I cannot tell you guys how much better I felt after I got the IV fluid. And it always just made me think, like, why didn't I go in and get it earlier? But also we can just drink. Like, you don't need to get an IV. I was pretty sick with a cold flu recently. Or during that pregnancy. And so that's why they put me on IV fluids. But man, you feel so much better when you're hydrated. And did you guys know that a lot of preterm or false labor is caused by not being hydrated enough? So yeah, you don't want to have those fake contractions that you don't really need if you don't have to. Rosa said, how was your first trimester? I'm not pregnant now. I always had decent first trimesters, which isn't, I'm sure everyone hates me on here, but Mahrin on Facebook said, recently had a miscarriage and had a way to make a baby. Any chance I could see even how to check? I mean, you just check with a pregnancy test. Yes, there's a chance to conceive. I have a post on the pregnancy nurse about the ideal age gap, and they actually say you should try right away after a miscarriage, that there's no reason to wait. So there you go. Bookishness Amber said, I've been feeling more exhausted than what feels normal. I know every pregnancy is different, but I'm taking 3-hour naps daily and I'm still exhausted. I'm in the second trimester. Amber, you are in the sweet spot. Unfortunately, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So I'm a downer. Sorry. That is a lot of extra naps if you're also sleeping during the day. So you might want to just check with your provider to see how your iron is. You might be a little bit anemic. So I would check with them and see what they say. Again, taking questions in the comments if people want to submit them. We just talked about hydration. Now we're going to talk about getting prepared a little bit by little bit. So this live, as well as all of my content, is sponsored by the online prenatal class for couples, the easy way to get prepared for birth. It just makes it so much easier when you can just take it a little bit by little bit. So my birth class is set into 20-minute chunks. It's not like 3-minute videos, because I want you to be able to just like cruise through a full video, in a day. But you just can either A, get super overwhelmed, or B, ignore it, which is what a lot of people do, and just not actually get prepared. So if you guys are looking to get prepared for your upcoming birth, come join me in the online prenatal class for couples. I would love to see you guys in there with me. And if you guys have questions, be sure to be asking them in the comments. You can always find it through my link in my profile or onlineprenatalclass.com if you're looking for it, or Google it. It should come up. Okay, the next one is to balance carbs and proteins. And I know a lot of us don't want to fail our 3-hour glucose test. You shouldn't want to fail it. But when you eat the diabetic diet, a lot of times people just feel better. So you're looking to balance your carbs and your proteins. So for meals, this is just a general guideline. I, of course, feel like everyone should be able to meet with a nutritionist, but not a lot of people are able to do that, especially if they don't have diabetes. But for meals, you should be looking for like under 40 carbs. And for snacks, you should be looking for about under 20 carbs, and then balancing that with high quality protein sources, be that nuts, nut butters, cheese, yogurt, dairy products, meat, obviously. And remember, with deli meat, you need to get it heated to steaming, which is the absolute worst. I just had a deli sandwich. Tell me in the comments if you're missing deli sandwiches, because I just had a deli sandwich yesterday at the airport, and I was thinking how much I loved it and how much I missed. Like every time a Subway commercial came on when I was pregnant, I was just like, no, I miss my Subway, which is funny because I'm not a huge Subway fan. I mean, I like Subway. I love me a good sandwich, but Subway. I like Ike's the best. Anybody? Sandwiches? Okay, the next, I think this is the final thing, is to make sure that you're involving your partner. And I have a few tips on this one. Be sure to tell me in the comments if you've seen this too, or if you have any questions. I would love to answer them. But make sure that you're realizing that you are battling pregnancy, not your partner. So if you feel miserable, I know it can be really tempting to blame your partner, but in reality, it's pregnancy that you should be blaming. And so when you have an issue with your partner, let's say they're not taking out the trash, your issue is the trash is too heavy for me to take care of while I'm pregnant, right? You don't want to come at them with, you never take out the trash, because you'll just ultimately have a better response by stating the problem, which is the trash, not your partner. So making sure that you're involving your partner. That's why I did a birth class that was for partners, so that you guys could really do it together. I think if you guys have tips on how you're involving your partner, tell us in the comments. Bookishness Amber said, you always miss the things you don't normally want when you can't have them. Yes. Although I also was like, every time, this is going to date me, a Pizza Hut commercial would come on. I know there aren't a lot of Pizza Hut commercials out there anymore. But I wanted pizza so bad, all day, every day. I think it was the salt. I don't know. Are you guys craving salty foods? Someone over on Facebook just asked to talk more about listeria, and I am actually I'm gonna actually drop a comment over there for you guys. Also, which test should I get done after miscarriage before trying again? Usually there isn't too much that you need to deal with, but talk with your provider for more information about that. All right, any other questions? How to deal with migraines while pregnant, talk with your provider. They need to make sure that it doesn't have anything to do with your blood pressure, because increased blood pressure can cause headaches. So you want to make sure that they rule that out, or preeclampsia. But if you're early in pregnancy, it's more likely just like blood pressure, not just preeclampsia. Yeah, so that's one thing to do. Sometimes there's medications they can give you. Sometimes there's not. Another thing is to just make sure that you're hydrating as much as possible, because pregnancy, like we talked about just before, can really dehydrate you. So thank you guys so much for joining. This was super fun. I'm going to try and do lives in the afternoons when I get my stuff done. If you guys have stuff you'd like me to talk about during a live, feel free to ask it in the comments or on any of my videos. If something comes up where you're like, oh, I'd love to talk about that on a live, I would love to talk about it with you. So thanks for coming on. We will see you guys next time. Bye.